one of the ongoing storylines in the NHL is that the league keeps getting younger. As we come up on the end of the season, I wanted to cover some rookies, and here's the thing, like, almost every video I do now, I get, can you cover, and it's a rookie. And it's like, yeah, but then I have to do a video on every single one of them. Middlestad I did the video on, Pettersson I did the video on because Middlestad is projected to be a huge star for a team that desperately needs it. Pettersson because he broke records set decades ago by Kent Nilsson and by Peter Forsberg. I can't believe I remembered Nilsson before Forsberg. Anyways, these are guys I found who are still eligible to be rookies next year, who could be big players, or at the very least, conversation worthy, not necessarily for the Calder, but as really solid players. There's a couple in here that I don't know if they're going to end up in the Calder. Anyways, there's Logan Brown for Ottawa. He'll have every opportunity to make the team next year. And my guess is third line center to start out. Maybe throw him on the wing. Owen Tippett, 7 games, 1 goal for Florida. He'll get a shot at making the lineup next year. Niku. One of the reasons this video has taken place is Samu Niku. Niku was brought up by Winnipeg, having an excellent season in the American Hockey League, and in his first game scores a goal for the Winnipeg Jets. So, as we go into the playoffs, if Niku's forced to play, if Niku's going to be a guy that the Jets are going to rely on at all in the playoffs, he could very well play himself into a position on that blue line next year. And I think along the lines of like Torrey Krug in Boston is a good example of that. Torrey Krug came in out of, not really out of nowhere, but I don't think any of us realized how good he was going to be until he played in the NHL. Ashton Sautner, 5 goals and 2 assists. Should have had a goal, but it was called back due to an offside. So he should have 3 points in 2 games, or in 5 games. I know it's only 2, I know it doesn't count, but I felt bad for the kid because they had taped the puck to put first goal on it, and then they pulled the tape off while the crowd was booing. Sautner's actually played pretty well, and the Vancouver Canucks desperately need an offensive defenseman, so he will have every opportunity to make that team right out of training camp, because I think with the way this season has gone, I think Hutton's going to be out, and I get the feeling that maybe Stetcher will get used to pick up somebody else as well during the offseason. Elias Anderson, Rangers fans talking a lot about Anderson and Hedl. They're both on this board. 5 games, 2 points for Anderson. 7 games, 3 points for Hedl. And they're both eligible to be rookies next year. And, of course, the Rangers are going to be relying on these guys as well as whatever they get in the draft. And whatever happens from here on out with their veteran players that they're still looking to sell. And there's more. And, of course, the rumor that they're just going to bring back Rick Nash in the offseason. They may make a play for John Tavares, which would be insane, but they may. Dylan Sakura. So I talked about Sakura for the Chicago Blackhawks a while back before he had signed with them. Now that he has 3 games and 3 assists. If you're a Hawks fan, you have to feel pretty good about that. And they need that. The Hawks desperately need that as some of their players get older, as guys like Sharp and Keith are going to get phased out, and it's going to happen soon. You need that youth in the lineup, so Sakura at least helps up front with that. There's Middlestad, 4 games and 3 points. I know he went scoreless in his first game, and everybody went, oh, he's not that great, he hasn't scored yet. Okay. And I know right now Tolvanen is being referred to in that way too. It's kind of early. Of course, I have to put up Kailer Yamamoto for the Edmonton Oilers because he is going to be counted on a lot next year. He looked overwhelmed a bit this year. 3 points in 9 games. All of them assists. If he has physically matured to handle the NHL grind. If he can fight through all that checking defense to get to the front of the net, he will have every opportunity next year to play with Connor McDavid. Ideally, Edmonton wants to see Draisaitl at number 2 center, McDavid at number 1. They feel this will be their Crosby-Malkin. And whether it is or it isn't, that is the eventual plan. And they need a guy like Yamamoto to be able to play the wing with Connor McDavid and produce. Joe Hicketts has been a story for Detroit. 3 points in 5 games, and he's a defenseman. Detroit needs more point-producing defensemen as well. Green's on his way out the door, so Hickett's will have every opportunity. We'll see what he's made of then. Daniel Sprong. We've been waiting on Sprong for a couple years now from Pittsburgh. They have to give him an opportunity, don't they? And while we're talking about Pittsburgh, Zach Aston Reese is on the board. 14 games, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. He's played more games than anybody else I put on this board, but still rookie eligible next year. And I think Aston Reese next year will get an opportunity for number 3 center. I think that spot that Detroit's been trying to fill and fix and figure out, I think he'll have a shot at filling it next season. And Sprung has to be given a shot on the wing. And lo and behold, Sherry's had kind of a down year. He's been better lately, but he's had kind of a down year. And Crosby can always use another winger. So, sure, Sprung may get the shot at that. There's any number of young players that Pittsburgh picks up and moves to that spot. But Sprung has the skill to do it. And it's a matter of getting that opportunity. For Carolina, while it's been kind of a rough year, Warren Fogle in two games had 2 goals and assists and 3 points. You can't get too seduced by that because it's a very, very small sample size. But hey, they need scoring forwards, and here he is. Valentin Zykov, 8 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. Still eligible to be a rookie next year. He's only 22. He's been around for a while as a prospect, and he's been mentioned in conversations for a while. But he's not that old. So Zykov is still a rookie next year, and coming into training camp older than a lot of the other young prospects, he gets a very excellent shot at making that roster, especially considering Carolina's trying really hard to push for the playoffs next year, and they're going to need guys like him. The one caveat here, the one point that I might want to make is you have an owner in Tom Dundon that doesn't want to do a rebuild because he feels that they should be coming out of it and going back to the playoffs. Zykov could be used as a trade bait kind of thing to bring in a veteran. They could very well turn around and say, we're done picking up prospects. We've got too many prospects, too many young players. We're going to move some out. He may get moved to a team that needs more up front. Vancouver comes to mind as a team that could definitely use some help up front. Just because I'm a Canucks fan and I know that. But Dallas could use more depth. And again, I say that as a Dallas fan. Almost any team that's had a disappointing season could use a young prospect up front and might be willing to part with a veteran to make it happen. And last on the list is Ryan Donato, who's been kind of a revelation. 9 games, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points for Boston. Honestly, here's how I feel about Donato. Donato is an excellent young forward. I think he's going to be a very good top 9 forward. I don't know how much top 6 there is there. I know he's been great. He has, and it's been fun to watch. But, again, you have to take it with a grain of salt when it's a sample size this small. It can get very exciting very quickly, but when everybody's healthy in Boston, Donato's probably on the 3rd line. And he may have that top 6 skill. He may end up being a 30-goal scorer at some point. I'm hesitant to label him that in his rookie year next year. So remember, all of these guys are eligible for Calder next year. All of these guys are rookies again next season. And the games that they get at the end of the year, or in Yamamoto's case, the games he had at the start of the year and then the return to juniors, it all helps to develop them into better NHL players next fall. So let me know your picks, and again, I put as many of them on the board as I could with the magnets I made, and the picture of me making those magnets is on Instagram. Well, it's just them all glued to cardboard, but there's the finished product, and I've got 256 of them. So I've got every logo in the NHL 8 times, and 8 NHL logos because what the heck. So there you go. Let me know your picks. Let me know who's not on the board that you think is going to be a big deal next year as a rookie. And again, as I said at the beginning, this is why the NHL keeps getting younger. These guys come in and they're ready to play. They're absolutely ready to play. They're good to go. And it pushes out guys who are in their late 20s, early 30s who may not be as fast and may be viewed as too expensive when most of, if not all of these guys are on nice, cheap, entry-level contracts. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you for being out there. Makes it worth being in here. And I'll talk to you again soon.